Torcidos, shining ones, in service to the universe, to aid humanity. Great Gaia, we answer your call. We have come to be in service now, so we can walk in our truth.
We want to touch into this moment with that certain kind of beautiful lightness that recognizes the impermanence of all things, but also recognizes it matters that we came together. Yeah? The both and. This has mattered, this will matter. And think of the many different beautiful moments from here through which the energetics of this experience, what we're learning, what we're experiencing, can be passed forward, paid forward, shared with others who will benefit from your having taken this time. Yes, connectedness. You're willing to start putting in the chat, yeah, belonging, the words or the phrase, thank you, Simone, that are coming up for you now, if you're willing. This is a practice in itself that helps us feel the common threads, freedom. No words, flow, a few songs left listening to my soul. Safety, healing, liberated, renewing.
So that's what we're going to explore here today. Who are we? What are we? Why are we here? Now, most of you probably know the story of the Buddha, but I'll tell it very, very short and succinctly. He was a Hindu prince who decided that the hedonistic lifestyle he was living in the palace was not the way he wanted to live his life. So he left, and he went on a spiritual quest that lasted 6 years. At the end of that quest, he sat under the Bodhi tree and said he would not move from that spot until he found a way to end all sorrow. And he was successful. He got up from that place. He realized his own enlightenment, and then he went to a place, Deer Park, where all of the other spiritual teachers like to hang out. And they asked him, because he had this wonderful expression on his face, what are you? And at first they thought he was a god. They asked, are you a god? He said, no. Well, are you a man? He said, no. Well, what are you? And Buddha responded very specifically. He said, I am Tathagata. Now, Tathagata is a Pali and a Sanskrit word. It means he who has come and he who has gone away. So what he was saying essentially was that he had transcended this phenomenal world. He could see the 10,000-foot view of existence, but at the same time, he was still a physical person with a physical body. You can think of this as someone who is simultaneously on the top of a mountain and living down in the valley at the same time. They have that big 10,000-foot view of the world from the mountain, and yet they live down here in the mud with the rest of us. The difference is, because they have that big view, they can move more skillfully in the world.
Non-attachment to views. Non-attachment to views, which I hope will support some of the discussions we all have later. But first, I thought I'd offer a guided meditation so we can come back to the present moment, so we can come back to our bodies, so we can find some ease and some calm, so we can touch our hearts. And it will only be a short guided meditation, one written by Thich Nhat Hanh. So please make yourselves very comfortable. If you're sitting on a chair, perhaps have your feet placed, the soles of your feet on the ground, your back and your neck aligned. A dignified posture. You can have your eyes open or shut. And I'll just read what Thai says about this short practice. Many people begin to practice sitting meditation with the help of this exercise. Even those who have meditated for many years continue to practice it because the exercise is so effective. When you breathe in, please give complete attention to the in-breath, the whole in-breath, the whole in-breath. Wherever in the body the breath may be, feel the calm it brings, just like drinking cool water on a hot day. Feel how the breath cools the inner organs of the body. When practicing meditation, if the body is calm, then the mind is calm. Conscious breathing makes the body and mind one. In breathing out, smile to relax all the facial muscles. There are about 300 small muscles in the face. And if you don't feel like smiling, if it's not authentic for you to offer a gentle smile, then that's okay, because somebody here in our practice community will be smiling for you. Somebody will be smiling for you. The half smile can be seen as a sign of the calm brought by the in-breath. But it is itself also a means of attaining comfort and a clearer awareness of peace and joy. The conscious breathing and smile should be practiced during 5, 10, or even 15 in and out breaths before moving to the second stage of the guided meditation. Stage 2 of the exercise brings us back to the present moment, so we dwell, so we live in the present moment. By dwelling in the present, we put an end to attachment to the past and anxieties about the future. Life is only available in the present. We need to return to this moment to be in touch with life as it really is. This exercise can be practiced anywhere, at any time, in the meditation hall like we're doing now, in the kitchen when you're making your meal at the end of this session or the group session, on the bank of a river, in a park, whether you're walking or standing still, lying down, sitting, or even when you're working.
Empowerment, the process of empowerment means to receive authority or power in order to do something. And depending on what you consider the source of that authority or the source of that power, then the process of empowering or of empowerment will be either something internal, external, or both internal and external. And it will be either something that you are very open to, or that you feel a certain ambivalence or resistance toward. So spiritually, if you consider the source of spiritual power God or the divine, or you consider the source of spiritual power Buddha nature or Christ, then your ability to be empowered by that source depends on your openness to that process, whether or not you are willing to be fully empowered by what you consider your spiritual source. With regard to what you do in the world as well, is who are you waiting for to give you power and authority? Are you hoping that or waiting that someone outside of you comes to you and says, okay, from today on, you are fully in charge of your life. I authorize you to live your life the way you choose. I know I have many times in many areas of my life been in phases and worked still through phases where it is as if I am waiting for someone else to give me permission to do something that is important to me. And I know that that has to do with the relationship we have to the power and agency, yeah, the real willingness to fully accept the process of empowerment and to fully understand what is the source of that empowerment. I have been empowered by my teachers to do many things as a teacher myself. And yet, is it from them that the power comes? Or is it that they give me the permission to trust myself, to be empowered from within? Yeah, so that is a really important and interesting investigation.
When I normally do my talks, I actually ask people 3 questions, and I ask them, how many of you, hands up, would deliberately traumatize your child for life? So nobody. So how many of you would deliberately traumatize yourself for life? So no answer. So, and how many of you would traumatize your enemy for life? So just some questions really to get us to begin to think of the complexity of the forgiveness model. This model is not a model which is universal for suffering, because so many of us are coming from very different perspectives, people of color, when it comes to suffering. So there's not a one-stop solution.
As I mentioned, I work in prisons quite a bit, a couple of days a week, offering mindfulness to prisoners. I also work as a Buddhist chaplain in prisons too. And some of the prisons I work in have an energy of fear and anger in them. And so what I want to do is, when I walk through the security gate into an environment which is sometimes very hostile and very violent, not just verbally but physically, there is physical violence there, I want to bring some peace, some calm, and some love and compassion to that environment. So I'll often park my car about 15-20 minutes away from the prison, just so I can practice walking meditation to the prison. So when I go in through the gates, I am calm, I am solid, I am peaceful. And I guess all of you are doing great work, activism, Buddhist work, stressful jobs. Well, I think we can take our love and our peace by practicing mindfulness into our work environments too, and into our home. So please try it, along with mindful eating, just taking our time, mindfully eating, mindful deep listening, so listening without judging, just holding what that person has to say before we step in, loving speech, and great self-compassion. Great self-compassion. And see, these are some of the key practices that we use in our tradition.
So I guess basically wanting to thank everybody for taking the time to create this, even during the pandemic. And what we know is that there are multiple interlocking pandemics that we are facing, you know, and in a certain sense, this great pause, and maybe also a great reckoning, right? That's coming up in the wake of some of the revelations about disproportionate impact, the systemic racism and other xenophobia, other patterns and systems through which people are othered and rendered vulnerable. You all were just speaking about the hostile environment created in the UK by the government and the Windrush terror, frankly, campaign, it seems to me. You all were just speaking about the burning, the building that burned down, and all of these different examples, really, signs, if you will, almost cosmic level signs of the pandemic nature of racism and othering. So this is a pandemic that's, of course, here in the US, we've got all of these police killings, and other signs, symbols of the pandemic. So if we pause, we know we're constantly surrounded. We've been in that pandemic of racism and othering and, you know, differential vulnerability for a long time. And so it intersects with all the vulnerabilities that are coming up because of coronavirus. So I'd like us to pause together, because whenever we come together, to me, it's a very sacred thing. And you all have been together to some degree already, and I'm just joining. And so just to kind of mark this, because whenever human beings come, it's to me you know, these are unrepeatable moments. This is now, you know, this is now our community that I feel honored to be joining with you. So if we can, in a real way, allow ourselves to settle into what we know about how it is that we tend to ourselves and recognize the sacred, if you will, in our own being and bodies, and sense into how we can extend that to each other in a very conscious way in this moment as we transition from the conversation and the practice that you all were having into this conversation. So I have a bell. You all know mindfulness is one of my main practices, but I will say I was raised in a household of folks who have that heritage in slavery in the United States, right? So my family was raised in the South. You know, I was born in the South. And we were born into that caste-like system of oppression in the United States that's about the US particular brand of racism. And we had, for generations, relied on a certain kind of spiritually infused, hope-infused prophetic Christianity, like a kind of interpretation of the teachings that had been allowed to be presented to the enslaved and formerly enslaved. So I'm just naming that the heritages that I bring are multiple. There are multiple strains of lineage that come together, as I'm sure is true for really all of us in some way or another, right? Notions of some kind of purity around that are themselves the legacies of oppression. We're all in a certain kind of way. Yes, we come into this conversation from beautiful, unique histories, cultures, distinct heritages, and at the same time, look at this, look at us. Just take a moment if you can and look at these faces arrayed here in these tiles and see this human family, this close family. So if we can just pause for a second, if you'll pause the chat just for a bit, we're really trying to, We'll get back into the chat. I know how lively and beautiful that can be. But I'm asking us to pause just for a moment and really be here. If you're willing to reveal your video, I understand there are many reasons why video is not an option or desirable for everybody. But if you are willing, and you have your video shielded, but if you can let us see your faces right now, it matters to all of us that you're here.
Great, wonderful.
It matters to all of us that you're here. And that every single one of us is here together. This is important. This itself is, well, let's see what it feels like. See how it lands in your body, to take a moment to look into each other's faces and to breathe together.
I just want to remind you all, and I say this a lot, and I think we say this a lot in the US, especially with the two pandemics that have are certainly affecting us. So we have one pandemic, and that is COVID, right? And that came in, and as it came in, it's attacking the breath, right? So for us here in the US, we have another pandemic, and that's systemic racism. And you all know about our brother and his knee being on his neck, and the terms, I can't breathe. That other pandemic of systemic racism also affects our breath. And here in the US, what I say all the time is how you breathing is how you living. So you all, if your breath is high in your chest, that usually shows us that there's some stress. But when we have a full inhale, a full deep belly exhale, that's a reflection of calm, right? So we can always use the body. We can always use the breath, right? Use the messages we get from our body to tell us a story about where we are and how we are right now.
The baseline, though, the baseline actually is all about healing, and it's all about releasing. So the baseline of our practice doesn't actually change until we begin to heal certain aspects of our life and of our heart, of our body, in our mind, and we begin to release things. So sometimes one can feel this frustration because one invests so much in shifting the roofline of one's practice, only to again be pulled down again and again down to the bottom, where one has unresolved trauma or narratives or identities that really haven't had an opportunity to be integrated. And so I want to encourage you to understand that there's really two different practices that have to occur. The integration, or the creating of the foundation in terms of a baseline, is more the result of healing and of releasing than of learning and of achieving. And don't be frustrated when you practice a lot and you feel like you get pulled down again and again. It really has to do with the fact that there is releasing and healing work to do. And when you do that work, the baseline changes. And it won't be the same experience, because there will be a lift coming from the bottom that you could never get by striving toward greater development through just learning and effort.
Wherever it is, we might have to say, look, yes, we're all one human family, and this part is suffering. I'm raising that part up right now. And so that ability, when we come together like this, to say, I need to speak about this part of the suffering, and I need y'all to hear me. In the book, I talk about that as deepening the capacity to claim the center, first of all. To say, I'm gonna step into the center and speak for what's happening to Black people in this country right now, for example. I'm gonna speak to what's happening to Indigenous people in this country right now. Or whatever, wherever it is, right? Claiming the center, that's important. And our practices can help us do that and know that our voice matters. Also, though, when we come together to build coalitions and to build the awareness of the shape of the cloth, that's a phrase I use sometimes for what it is, to deepen the sense of like, we're in it together. We need to be able to not just claim the center, right, and be constantly elbowing each other out of the center, but like create in some way this ability that I think we're doing right here with, in a way, we're manifesting this through the structure that William and others have created for this international meditation retreat. We're rotating the center. You claim it, but then we rotate it, pivot. All right, who else has the voice? Pass the talking stick, pass the mic. And let's turn toward that group, that representatives sharing and suffering. Does that make sense? So rotating the center, both claiming and then rotating the center. It doesn't always have to be about my story, but it sometimes will be. So let me just pause. There's so many, right? So as you all know, again, that grounding being, grounding seeing being, doing justice. Hello. Taking action for justice, not only for ourselves. These practices are not just about centering and healing. Very, very important. The first approximation to what justice is for me. Justice begins right here with giving myself this precious elixir of water without which we wouldn't be here. This is the only drink we really need. We sometimes forget this. First approximation to justice, taking care of the body and the being, right? And then how are we with each other? Second approximation. How can I be with you, right? How can I honor you and myself at the same time? And from that place, I'm honoring myself, I'm taking care, I'm trying to be there for you and for my loved ones right near me. Beautiful teachings in our traditions about that. We don't leave somebody sick in the household. We don't go out to take care of others. Take care of the sick person right here, right now, in the family, in the community. And also keep expanding out, working together collaboratively to change these systems. Justice in like these dimensions, if you will. Personal, interpersonal, and then systemic collectively. Always happening all the time. Don't forget the justice for the self, though. You deserve this. You have to start there. You will quickly burn out if you're not starting there every day. So grounding, seeing, being, doing, and through all of this, liberating, freeing ourselves so that we're not getting stuck in the agenda that we think has to be the thing we do. Yes, do it from this place of loving ability to keep doing it. And I'm going to close by reference to my grandmother again. My grandmother, born in 1906, a child of segregation, the legacies of slavery. She was not allowed to go to formal school past like the age of 7 or 8 in any kind of consistent way. She had to struggle to kind of teach herself to read. She never read very well because of this. This is my grandmother. So when I was a little girl, seeing her, she was still cleaning houses for other people in the United States, in that southern part of the world, not unlike so many of our mothers and relatives, wherever they are still relegated to these kinds of service positions and treated as if that's all they're ever good for. These patterns are still with us, and we know something about them. So when we turn toward the liberated work, we want to be liberating, obviously, not only for ourselves. That's why we're here. But my grandmother taught me to get up, center herself. She got up before dawn every day, did a centering prayer practice. Got up, took care of us, fed us, cooked for us, and then went out and cleaned houses. So her message, the message that I learned from her, watching her is, and she did this even in a way that allowed her to see her own value, her worth, to have a sense of warmth in her heart, not bitterness, because I think she could see the bigger picture that her value, her life still mattered. She was still able to teach. She was a teacher. She had been called to the ministry. We took cakes and food to people over the weekends. We didn't have a lot, but we fed people. Do you all know what I'm saying? Like this ability to move through in times of suffering is something we know something about, and we are here to draw on the history of our personal lineages and ancestors. The women, the grandmothers, the grandfathers, the men, the people of all different backgrounds and genders and no genders that we know have taught us how to thrive in difficult times. All of those are the teachings of engaged mindfulness for me. So I'm going to stop there.
If you choose to set an intention at this time, set it. If there is something you wish to let go of, just allow it to rise up in your body. And as we do the breathing in and out, and we will eventually sound the AH, the R sound for our heart, I invite you to release and let it go. Continue to breathe easy, and as you listen to the healing sounds that flow through my voice, these sounds will hit you on a cellular level and shift any blocks that need to be moved. If you sense or feel anything that's come up in any of your centers, just breathe in here, and I'd like you to release AHR. And we'll tone that sound together. Breathe in and release R. Breathe in again and release the R. Let it out. Breathe in and release the R for your heart. Breathe in, let it out. And one more, breathe in and release the R. Now I'll continue to tone as we bring this to a close. Just allow yourselves to take a moment can remain here. I invite you to bring movement back into your body, to become aware of your reality, wiggling your toes and your fingers. If this position is still comfortable for you, stay where you are. As healing artist, myself and Drew wrote this song a while ago called Journey of the Soul, and we will share it with you now. The journey of the soul, journey of the soul, mysteries untold, mysteries unfold. Honor yourself, follow your purpose. Star seeders, shining ones, in service to the universe, to aid humanity. Great Gaia, we answer your call. We have come to be in service now, so we can walk in our truth. The journey of the soul, journey of the soul, mysteries untold, mysteries unfold. Indigo, rainbow, crystal children, you have come to spread the light, to watch over us, to connect us to the earth, to nature, to connect us so firmly, light beings, light workers. Thank you, the journey of the soul, journey of the soul, mysteries untold, mysteries unfold. The journey of the soul. 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 The journey of the soul.
Nana Baba, Nana Baba, Nana Baba, yeah, Nana Baba, Nana Baba, Nana Baba, Nana Baba. Great grandfather watching over me. You are a soul of mystery, dear ancestor guiding me to see. You hold the source of history. Nana Baba, Nana Baba, Nana Baba, yeah, Nana Baba, Nana Baba, Nana Baba, Nana Baba. You're the keeper of our story. You're the light of the moon. You keep the record of our glory. We all dance to your tune. Nana Baba, Nana Baba, Nana Baba, Nana Baba, yeah, Nana Baba, Nana Baba, Nana Baba, Nana Baba. You're our teacher, you're our friend, you're our grandfather. You're our teacher, you're our friend, you're our grandfather. You're our teacher, you're our friend, you're our true father. You're our teacher, you're our friend, you're our Nana Baba. You're our Nana Baba. You're our Nana Baba. Yeah, yeah. Please join in if you can with the hums. Close your eyes if it helps. Let's have some ha. 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 Really feel your heart. If you want to wake up and sort of reconnect with your upper and lower part of your body.
If you will, everything in my work is about polarities. So your upper and lower, your inner and outer, your light and dark, if you will. Yeah, we all work off polarities. Of course, it comes from duality, but how do you find the middle between duality? So this form is about harmonizing your polarities, if you will. So it's a very simple thing, and it does look very simple. But the idea is to get your drawing implement and just move very firmly but slowly and with intention to find a balance. So you'll notice that my lines are sort of going a little bit in and out, and that's because you're allowing yourself to move. If it's too thin, you might notice, oh, it's actually not in the middle of the page. How can I get it so it's in the middle of the page? So then keep drawing the lines until they become centered. And you might find that your cross point moves. So have a go to see if you can just get that into something that feels balanced. And just trust your hands, which can be a tricky thing to do, because often we might be in our heads trying our best to get it into balance, but trust that your body has a wisdom all of its own, and it will tell you based on what you end up drawing.
Thank you all for such a great weekend. I can see from your faces that so much has been shared over the weekend, so much need to process, so much love and commitment from all of us. A special thank you to everyone who has contributed. 25 people that have given their time and their energy and their love to this project. We look forward to seeing you again next year. Thank you.